want to credit Heather McGhee for giving me this worldview that I'm going to talk about. I read the chapter in her book about this maybe 7 times before I actually could understand it and internalize it. And she talks about how America, white people in particular, have a zero-sum game mentality. We think that if someone is getting something, we're losing it. We don't think that we can all benefit together. And she says the reason for that is colonization, colonialism, whatever word you want to use, imperialism. It is because in America, we established a racial hierarchy in order to exploit labor and land. You come to a new land and it is inhabited by brown people. In order to take that land, you have to justify doing so. How do you do it? Well, brown people aren't as good as white people. You need to work that land and make a profit. So you enslave black people. How do you do that? You establish a racial hierarchy and say black people are less good and important than white people, so they deserve to be enslaved. So our racial hierarchy allowed our ancestors to exploit Native Americans and African Americans. It goes further than that, though. It also enabled a bunch of poor people from Europe to come here and have a new life and feel superior to the brown and black folks who were already here. So that zero-sum mentality was tied into our colonization. We didn't just share the land. We forced Native Americans onto reservations. If we took their land, they lost it. So we established that only one side wins in America. Same thing with black people. Heaven forbid we, free them and pay them a good wage. No, instead they're enslaved and we get all of the benefits. So in America, we established that if we are winning, we are taking something from someone else and they are losing. And historically, that has been people of color. We took the Native Americans' land, we took black people's freedom. And so that zero-sum game mentality is America. That mentality is in our heads still. It's hard not to feel that way. When we have underfunded schools, it's hard for me not to get annoyed when I see well-funded schools. Like, they're funded, so I'm not, rather than the fact that the GOP is starving all of our schools and we should all be mad. Things like that. But I had a thought today about this. Right now, white supremacy is trying to bring back that racial hierarchy that was slowly being pushed down. There was not equality yet, but DEI initiatives, things like that, were finally leveling the playing field a little bit, destroying the racial hierarchy that our ancestors put in place in order to profit off of the Americas. Okay? What happens when that racial hierarchy is gone? Suddenly, mediocre white people no longer get to feel superior. Instead, they're mad. And I think this is the key that the ruling class, the elites, the deep, I don't know, whatever we're going to call them, the thing they're missing. This is what my epiphany was. That system worked because people's needs were still kind of met. The white poor people might have been poor, but they were taken care of and they got to feel superior to the brown people. Now, if brown and black people are brought up to the same level as white people, suddenly those poor white people can't feel superior anymore and they are hurting financially. They are unable to buy houses. They are unable to get good jobs. So suddenly they are furious. And that is the powder keg we're in today. I think the ruling elite, let's call them the dark lords. I think that's the best term. They are trying to put that racial hierarchy back into place because they need all of the mediocre white people to calm the fuck down and be happy. And they don't have that now because they no longer have their superior racial structure, and they are no longer supported by a strong middle class, thanks to the Dark Lords. But the Dark Lords don't want that. The Dark Lords have made sure that these poor people are poorly educated, so they're not quite smart enough to put all of this together, and they are continuing to propagandize them and lie to them, and trying to reestablish the racial hierarchy system so that they can keep plundering our country and keep us divided. The Dark Lords, from the beginning of America, have always been worried that all the poor people would band together against them and demand that we get a bigger share of the pie. As long as we keep fighting each other, they're gonna keep eating the whole goddamn thing. The fact that MAGA isn't furious that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are two immigrants who take billions of dollars from our government and have decided that they don't like American democracy and they're going to blow it up. The fact that MAGA isn't pissed about that is not shocking, I guess, because they're pretty stupid, but shocking, right? Like, we've got to change the messaging and be as ugly as them. Because what I said was kind of ugly, but it's an inconvenient truth. They grew up in South Africa apartheid. They're horrible men. And they have so much power in our country. And I'm sorry, if they hate America so much, they need to leave. They don't need to destroy the system. They need to leave. But I always recommend this book. It's incredible. And just that framing has been mind-blowing to me. Understanding that when you have an entire nation that was a colony and had to justify what it did, it put a racial hierarchy in place. You try to remove the racial hierarchy and you still have inequality. It is a mess. A mess. We need to not have the racial hierarchy, and we need to have equality. Not communism, not socialism. You can still be richer than other people. But this extreme divide that we have, where the CEOs get paid 300 times what their lowest worker makes, no more of that.